I want to start upgrading my libraries to Zig 0.15.1, but to do that and upgrade my projects, I have to upgrade a bunch of dependencies, and a lot of these dependencies aren't 0.15.1 compatible due to changes to the build system or changes to the reader and writer interface. There's plenty of reasons why. So I have a very small project called ADL. I've talked about it so much on the channel, we won't go into that now, but one of the dependencies it uses is called Zig datetime by FRMDSTRYR from Dirster. I don't know. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name. But we're going to update that dependency today. So I've got that dependency up on the screen. I'm going to go ahead and make a fork of it. Yep, Zig datetime, copy the master branch only. That's fine. So we're going to create this fork, and then we are going to beat our head against the wall until it compiles for 0.15. Okay, so I'm going to grab this, and I'm just going to use the GitHub CLI. Come back here. So let me make this bigger for you. I've got ADL open right now. I was just curious if it would build for Zig 14 or 15. It will not. So let's go ahead and clone Zig datetime. And then cd into Zig datetime. Okay, cool. Nice, clean working state. I just want to take a look at the build.zig really quick. So we have, I don't think that, well, okay, pretty straightforward build.zig. And then also want to look at the Zon, make sure that there's no dependencies. There are no dependencies. This is perfect. Cool. Yeah, this should be okay. File cannot be a tuple, so that's one thing we'll have to fix. But let's just go ahead and let me make sure that I'm using Zig 0.15. I am. Let's give this a Zig build. Let's see what fails. Okay, nothing failed. Were there updates to this that I'm unaware of? Update for Zig. Okay, update for Zig Master. Okay, never mind. I am completely wrong, and instead, what I need to do is pull the latest version of this dependency. I actually don't know if there's a way to do that. Let's copy a package into the global cache and print its hash. Yeah, okay. Here's an example. I was curious if there was like an update, like a grab the latest version of a dependency. I don't think there is. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. Okay, so then what we will do is we'll just fetch that again. So I'm going to look at my build.zig.zon. Here's our dependency. I'm just going to take all of this except for the head bit. And instead, what I'm going to do is do this right here. So we'll do zig fetch, save, paste that, needs to end in .get, let this fetch. Now I'm going to do a zig build, and now our errors should be, I was expecting them to be just in my project, but this is pointing to that zig datetime build. Just out of curiosity, did it update the, it did update the build.zig.zon. Oh, but it pulled it in as datetime. Yeah, I'm gonna, let's just crack that open really quick. And we're gonna change this to be at zig datetime. Come back here, and we'll delete those 4 lines. File cannot be a tuple. Okay. Okay, cool. Perfect. So the dependency update actually didn't need to happen. And instead, well, I did need to update my dependencies. I don't have any changes to that dependency to support 0.15.1, but that dependency change did need to happen. So now we have issues on our end. So we have some writer issues, source main zig 103, root source file struct IO has no member named get standard out. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull up the Zig 0.15.1 release notes because I'm going to have to refer to these since there's not a migration guide or anything similar. And yeah, let's get to it. So I'm going to pull up main.zig, source main.zig, make this a little bigger. And actually, I'm looking at my recording preview, and it looks like we have more window space to work with than I realized. So let's take advantage of all of that space as well. There we go. Okay, I was hoping my LSP might yell at me. Do we have ZLS updates? No, it does not look like it. Interesting. Okay, we actually might do this in VS Code then, because I believe my VS Code LSP is hanging in there a little better. Sorry, we've got some Go stuff up here from a different project. And we want ADL. ADL, where are you? Up at the top. Okay. Zig standard library directory could not be resolved. Not off to a great start. Yeah, ZLS. Use Zig in path. Let's see if that helps. Okay, maybe not. So we'll do this the hard way with no working tooling. Okay, so when we do Zig build, we have an error on 103. So let's head to 103. Try that again. Okay, so root source file struct IO has no member named get standard out. So standard IO no longer has get standard out. Let's refer to the migration guide and figure out. Okay, so it looks like we need a buffer now, and then we need standard out writer, which is going to be standard file system file standard out writer, and we need to pass in a reference to that buffer. So quite a few things going on here. Let's go ahead and create this buffer. So, and it's just a slice of U8s, or an array of U8s, I guess. Standard out buffer. What was the, yeah, 1024 is fine, I guess. U8, and then, okay, just undefined. That makes sense. Try that again. And then this needs to change from standard out to standard fs dot get. Yeah, my LSP is not helping at all. Okay, standard fs dot file dot standard out, all lowercase. And then it is dot writer, and then we need to pass in that buffer. So we can do something like standard out buffer like so. And I'm just going to go ahead and give this a Zig build. We should hopefully see that issue on 103 has been resolved. It has, and now we have the same issue with standard error. So my hunch is that this is going to be the exact same, except it's going to be standard error instead of standard out. So what we can do is we can just take this, paste it here, update this to standard error. And then this probably shouldn't share a buffer. It seems maybe like bad behavior. So we're going to create a standard error buffer as well, and we'll try that. Okay, no field or member function named print in fs file writer. So we're calling standard error.print. That is a little confusing because the example right here has the standard out writer. Oh, we need to grab the interface. Okay. Do we need this writer for anything else, or can I immediately just grab the interface from it? It looks like I can just grab the interface from it. Okay, so these are variables. The buffer's a variable, the writer's a variable, and the standard out itself is actually a const. So quite a few more lines of code for all of this. So we have standard out, and this is going to be standard out writer dot interface. And I think we need a pointer to that, so let's grab that. And then same thing with standard error, but this will be standard error writer interface. And let's give this a go. Okay, cool. We don't have any writer issues at the moment, so we've converted that to this, and it is quite a bit more code. It is clear that this is doing buffering now, which I guess is nice. We can't forget to flush, so we'll need to handle that too somewhere. But that'll be probably towards the end of our main. I guess in theory, we could just take our we could just do this, right? I don't see why we couldn't do that. Maybe that's not the best approach, but yeah, we'll just leave that as a should we do this, and then we'll come back to it in a minute. So, okay, ArrayList aligned has no member named init. So let's go take a look at main.zig 77. So take me to 77. Yeah, ArrayLists have changed. So let's go look at the release notes, right? So ArrayList, make unmanaged the default. And then warning, these will both be removed entirely. So the ones being removed entirely are the managed versions. So we are taking in an allocator because I always enjoy the managed versions. So instead, we have our standard array list now, and I think we just need to pass the allocator in whenever we are allocating. So just go to a conventional unmanaged approach. My only question is the allocator the first or the second parameter? Okay, variable of type must be const or comp time. I'm actually confused by that. I know it's a type, but standard array list. Okay, zig standard array list unmanaged. Array list unmanaged. Yep. So it's an array list with a comp time type. Can I just do standard array list const u8 and then do dot empty? Okay, yeah, I guess I can. Perfect. Main.zig 86, so we have this issue here. So we need to just give this the allocator so that it can make the space. Okay, and then on 27, same issue, we have another allocator based, an allocator managed array list up here on 27. So we'll just change this, give this a type, standard array list, U8, and then we'll make this empty. And we're using an arena allocator here. That's good to know. So formatted files, we will use arena alloc. Okay, let's give this a build. Holy cow, it built. That's way easier than I expected. Let me make sure it works. So, not zig cache. Zig out, right? Yeah, okay. Zig out, bin, ADL, region. It's a good sign that it gave me that. Get diff ADR readme. Cool. Yeah, that actually was not as bad as I expected. This is a tiny, tiny project, though, for what it's worth. So let's go fix this one little issue here that we got going on right here. So we have regenerate the ADR readme. That's from an embed. So it should be at the top of our file system up here. It's the readme contents. So we take those contents, we either load the one that the user provides, or we do the readme contents. Let me just make sure that readme template. Okay, there is an extra line at the end. So why is there not an extra line here? Regenerate the readme. Let me just make sure. Readme template. Okay, that's not the right. I want the help template. There's not a new line. So let's add that new line right here. Let's give this another build so it can embed that template properly. And then let's try this again. Beautiful. Okay, cool. Yeah, that actually wasn't as bad as I thought. So let's take a look at the diff so you can kind of see what's going on. I update my tool versions here. I'm using mise as in mise en place, I guess it's French. I've been learning French. I should know how to pronounce that, but here we are. So I'm using mise to manage my tool versions. I was using ASDF before. If you have a tool versions from ASDF, mise will just use that, I guess, which is nice. And then the update to that README that we regenerated, that's not really important for the Zig update. We did have to update a dependency, and by update that dependency, I mean all we did was bump the version because it already supported Zig master as of 2 months ago, which seemed to be sufficient. And then we had to take our managed array lists and convert them to unmanaged by default. When I first started doing Zig, the managed approach just seemed easier for me. The more I've learned about it, the unmanaged makes way more sense and seems like a much better approach, both because you're not messing with the alignment of your struct by always throwing allocators in the array list struct and keeping a reference to that allocator, and also like it's just not like the overhead for keeping the allocator in that struct just isn't really worth it. And like this is arguably more clear where that allocation is happening, where if you saw this, you might not know what allocator is responsible for that allocation because the array list here itself isn't responsible for doing any of that allocation. The allocation happens when we do the appends. Anyways, I could rant and tangent on this again, but this feels fine. Like it makes sense. Same thing here. So from managed array list to a non-managed array list, and then appending like so. The big one that's a little weird. Oh yeah, we should probably come back to that. That seems fine. I'm very curious what happens if we remove those. So maybe we'll try that just to see what it does and see how Zig behaves in that scenario. But yeah, these two very simple lines ended up becoming quite a bit bigger. So we have to manage a buffer, and we have to create our writers, so they're file writers. We're using the standard out file and the standard error file, coercing those to a writer, and then grabbing the interface and then using that interface for standard out and standard error instead of just this piece. This feels pretty involved. I get why we should do things this way, why we have to do things this way, and I understand that there's a bigger picture at play here, especially with the async stuff coming down the pipeline. I'm here for it. It does kind of suck going from 2 lines to something quite a bit more verbose, but being able to control the flush is nice. Being able to have like a standard uniform interface for this is pretty nice as well. Being able to easily do buffers and buffered writing and reading is nice. There's some benefits to it for sure. And then our last one here is, just that update to that text file that we made at the very end. Let's go back into our main.zig really quick. And OCaml. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's some OCaml in here as well. And that needs to not be here whenever I push this, but that's okay. So yeah, the flush, right? We talked about flushing. So, okay, let's just remove these. What happens? How does Zig behave if we remove the flush? So let's give this a Zig build. No compile time warnings, which makes sense. I don't know how it would know, but we don't actually write anything. So there's our help. If we do regen, it probably won't regenerate things again. So let's take a look at readme. So 1621. Yeah, actually that is like right now. So it's interesting. So that one still worked. 1622. Yeah, that is now. So that's still oh, okay, that makes sense. We're not actually writing to standard out. Actually, I think we should. I think regen's supposed to, but the file writing is working as expected, but the standard out piece is not. So we do have to flush. I don't really know why we wouldn't necessarily just want to defer the flush like so. Or you could do it manually if you need to flush earlier. I think I'll just leave this as is for now, because this seems to be working fine, and it kind of keeps the flush pretty close to the definition for those standard out and standard error writers. Okay, so last but not least, yep, that all looks good. Bump for Zig 0.15.1. Give this a push. Get tag. And then we want 0010, I guess. So get tag v 0010. Oh no, that already exists. How did I not see that? Get tag. Oh yeah, so does 11. Okay, cool. So this will be 12. And then we'll get push tags. And because of the CI CD stuff I've got going with this little repo, not this one, but this one. This should kick off a GitHub action that's going to publish a new version. So that'll run, it'll do its thing, and it'll publish that version. But the action itself is using 0.14.0. How is that controlled? Let's take a look. So we have GitHub, we have this release action. It's controlled right there. I'm just going to update it manually for now. What might be nice is actually if this workflow can be upgraded to use the version that's specified in your build.zig file. And on that, sorry, your build.zig.zon file. Let's update that too. So we're going to adjust those workflows. We'll push this. And then I'm just going to go ahead and pick a new tag. I don't necessarily mind too much since we're pre 1.0 or anything close to it at this point. I feel bad about just deleting a tag and then pushing a new version over that tag. I know that it's literally no one would have downloaded it yet, but yeah, I still feel a little weird about that. So figure I'll just push a new tag and we'll let that work. So that previous release failed. This one hopefully shouldn't fail and should actually be running now that we're pulling Zig 0.15.1. So yeah, that's fetching it. It looks like all the mirrors are failing, so maybe that's something else we'll have to look into. actually haven't looked at any of these mirrors before, so I'm very curious. So that's for all of mock. Yeah, I mentioned this too while we're here. ZSF, the Zig Software Foundation, needs money. So if you haven't considered donating yet, and maybe you like Zig and you'd like for it to stay around and continue to be developed, at least at the pace it's going, and ideally even faster, you might want to consider donating. And this is a fun little way to pick your favorite mascot and show your support for them. I'm pretty biased towards this little fella right here, but you can do your own choice as well. Okay, interesting. So from source, we have 016 dev. How exciting. 015.1 is what I want. So yeah, that should be available. I'm not sure why any of those mirrors aren't able to pick it up. Attempting official 404. I don't know. I will need to look into that. I feel like that's probably outside the scope of this video. It's not really relevant to upgrading my code to Zig 015.1. It's more of upgrading my GitHub action. So yeah, I'll probably just end that here. Hopefully you found this helpful. The upgrade to 015.1 for this tiny, tiny project was not nearly as bad as I expected. So hopefully it'll be easy for you as well. I will be doing more. I really want to get everything I have on 015.1 to get ready for the async overhaul that is coming soon. And I'll probably be doing more videos of me upgrading stuff. This one was easy because it was one dependency. I've got a couple things that are a little bigger, like, let's just go take a look. HTTP spec has 2 dependencies. So that'll be something to look at. It has Zig clap as one of the dependencies, and I think a YAML parser for the other dependency. So, we'll have to take a look at that and see what that looks like. PopShop is another one that I will need to update at some point in time. This one's pretty straightforward in terms of dependencies. It just uses HTTPZ and a YAML parser as well. Actually, since PopShop uses the YAML parser, HTTP spec shouldn't use a YAML parser. I'm not sure why I said that it would use the YAML parser. The dependencies for this one are clap and, oh yeah, regex, yeah. Man, if you all know of a great regex library that's like pretty actively maintained for Zig, let me know, because I was on a hunt for one and I settled on this and it seems fine, but I'm open to switching. I'm open to other regex libraries. Okay, rambling again, it tends to happen. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. That way you get notifications. I think there's a bell or something to hit to make sure you get those notifications. But that way you'll be able to stay up to date with new videos, especially Zig-related things, as we push into 015.1 and get ready for 016.0 coming soon. TM. Besides that, we have a Discord server that is becoming more and more active, and it's a really awesome opportunity to, selfishly, for me, I get to talk with the people that are interested in the content I produce, which gets me excited, and it's an awesome time. So if you haven't yet and you want to join that conversation, there will be a link to the Discord server, like an invite link in the description below. Feel free to join that. I'd love to have you join us. I think that's it, so thank you very much, and have a great day.